Hi, welcome back to Bingewatch Rehearsals. I'm Dan Wilson, and with me, as always, is the amazing
Diana Brown, and we together are
Bingewatch.
Bingewatch.
So thanks again for joining us. These are our shorter rehearsal sessions. We go ahead and we grab a couple of shows based on random number selection before we start recording. And today we have two shows to play with. Diana?
Well, we have Clarice, which is a deep dive into the world of Clarice Starling from the movie, of course, Silence of the Lambs. And the other show that we have, um, I I will be honest, I had never heard of this show, but it's intriguing. It's called Serpent, and it's a British crime drama. And it also features a serial killer. This is from the perspective of the serial killer. Uh, and he steals from his victims and is, in addition to being a serial killer, he travels with his girlfriend, and they are jewel thieves selling off things they have stolen and acquired.
So normally we take two very different shows from the audience, but for rehearsals we just pull things at random. So in this case, we've got two shows that are different, but have certain thematic similarities. And so I guess now we're going to go ahead and see the first episode, or see a scene from the first episode of The Agent.
You're checking the flight schedule.
Yes.
It's funny. The only reason I question that is we all have everything on these now. And I haven't been in an airport and actually looked up and checked the flight schedule in years.
I tend not to use my phone very often. I think it's important to release ourselves from the tyranny of the device, you know?
Oh, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think it's just, I was so struck by seeing you there looking up. There's something so vulnerable about a person in that moment. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we're looking up and we're completely unaware of what's happening around us, because in that moment we're seeking that elusive number of our flight. I don't know, it just makes people seem childlike and very vulnerable, and I guess approachable, because here I am babbling at you, a complete stranger in an airport.
But that's the thing, is we're not looking down at our hands, which, if you want to talk about folks being vulnerable.
Oh, right? So many crimes happen. So many horrible things happen because people are like this. I'm sorry, the hazard of my job to think about those things.
Not at all, not a problem at all. What I like about this, in addition to, yes, there's a certain openness and vulnerability, I like how it all connects. On your phone, you can look at your individual flight, yes? You can see if you're late or early or what your gate is. But here we see all the gates, all the incoming, all the outgoing, a seeming morass of chaos. And yet, it's a dance, every plane orchestrated to fit into its place at the right time, at the right space.
There's something beautiful about that, isn't there?
It really is.
And in truth, I mean, you can see trouble coming, because if, for instance, flight 473 doesn't arrive in time, that's going to completely hold up flight 764, which is using the same gate and coming in 20 minutes later.
I'm so sorry. That is beautiful. What is that?
Oh, well, specifically the stones, or, I mean, it was a gift. That's my first answer.
Oh, from someone who loves you very much, obviously. It's a very nice gift.
Oh, I think it's lovely. It's not even terribly expensive. I mean, it's semi-precious. I tend to get very caught up in details and specificities. But it's three of my favorite stones. There's a tourmaline. There's a no. I'm incorrect. There's a sapphire. There's peridot, and then there's a topaz, and it's set in sterling, so it's not semi-precious. It's semi-precious.
It's precious to you. And that's what matters the most.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, as soon as the word semi-precious came out of my mouth,
It feels wrong, doesn't it?
it did, because it's so precious to me. I mean, it's not inexpensive, but it's not, you know, Harry Winston wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
No, I suppose he wouldn't.
There's something about Harry Winston. I think, you know what it is?
No, please tell me.
Well, it's from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. It's from A Kiss on the Hand Might Be Quite Continental.
But diamonds are a girl's best friend.
And she says, talk to me, Harry Winston. Tell me all about it. And it's just this lovely moment as she's being elevated and carried by the dancers. And I don't know, I just think of like 1950s, you get the perfect ring, and it had to come from Harry Winston. Now, if it's the 60s, it has to come from Tiffany's.
Of course. Of course.
She
You're a
was so
fascinating woman. You know that, don't you?
Oh,
You are.
I
As
am.
you say,
I
you
mean,
are-
I probably shouldn't say that, but I am. I've had a very interesting life. You're a very patient person.
I spend a lot of time in between places, going from point A to point B. You spend enough time at airports, you become patient. It's a requirement.
It's true.
You travel a lot as well, I gather.
I do. Yeah. I do. The first time I remember standing in front of one of these arrivals and departure signs, I was 7. And I got the sense that the whole world was right there and you could get to it. You just had to come to the airport.
Well, with the work that you do, I'm sure you've been to some very interesting places.
The work that I do?
Well, yes. You are a federal agent, I'm guessing. Your attention to detail, your observations about the world, and the fact that you have quite clearly the privilege of carrying a gun into an airport. Sorry, it does show slightly under your coat. You don't have the demeanor of a cop. They tend to be a bit, well, always terrified on some level. You
Yeah.
can see it in their eyes, the way they hold themselves, as if they're always ready for a fight.
Yeah, that's true.
So perhaps I'm wrong, but intelligence, poise, well-traveled, attention to detail, practical shoes, comfortable clothing for the airlines, and of course that ever so slight bulge that I wouldn't have noticed had we hadn't had a long conversation together.
Well, I mean, I must imagine you traveling so much and having an eye for jewelry and knowing who Harry Winston is. And I have to assume that you're, oh, I don't know, a stockbroker, used to buying expensive gifts for someone special, travels internationally considerably, has an eye for detail because you're looking for that little tell that will let you know what your client needs or wants before they even know it. Am I right?
Very close. I deal in exports.
Oh,
Jewelry, for the most part, but otherwise completely accurate. And you, I'm guessing, are not just a federal agent. No, you sound like you're a profiler. An excellent character of human nature and of observation.
that was funny because you said an excellent character of human nature. what you meant to say was I'm an excellent judge of character and of human nature. But Freud, I should say, had a different plan for you. And you said, I am a character of human nature, not fully realized as a human being, but more a sketch of a person.
Are we not all on some level of performance? For others and for ourselves? Or do you truly think that within 5 minutes of meeting somebody, you know that person inside and out beyond the mask they wear?
Sometimes. There's something about the fact that you wanted this conversation and fostered it.
You approached me, madam. You approached me. I was merely observing the nature of
No,
time.
no, you're like bait. Your behavior, your stance, your openness, the vulnerability of let's face it, your throat was unprotected as you raise your head. There's something like, I suddenly feel like Eve in the Garden of Eden.
Well, now you're just being flirty.
No, I'm not. I did notice that you're traveling with a companion, and I'm not trying to hit on you. I do notice that she's been away for a really long time when usually, unless they're hitting the duty free, our traveling companions come back to us pretty quickly in the airport, if only to share something silly they saw. But the fact you're having a conversation with me has warned her away. And there's a weird, almost subversive quality to the fact that you want to have a conversation with what you perceive to be a federal agent, which tells me I should keep an eye on you.
I'm flattered. But unless you're flying to Singapore, this will probably be our first and last meeting. Unless, of course, we cross paths again in some airport terminal somewhere in the world. And if so, I'll buy you a drink, and we can see if the mask comes off for either of us. Even a little bit. Ah, I'm boarding soon. It's been very nice meeting you, Agent.
If I forward a description, can you give me a full profile of an individual? Thank you.
And that was a scene from an otherwise unknown episode of The Agent. Thank you, Diana Brown.
Thank you, Dan Wilson.
That was a fun bit of cat and mouse.
It was really fun. I really enjoyed that.
Excellent. If you like what you're seeing, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all the usual YouTube things. We also have a Patreon where if you become a patron, you get early access to these rehearsal shows and see them a full week or two before the rest of the world. You can also go ahead and place suggestions in our Patreon of shows you'd like to see us do mashups of in rehearsal. So, that being said, any words for our audience, Diana?
Thank you, as always. You're why we do this.
We'll see you online.